Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of the Boerne Brew here on Boerne Radio, 103.9 FM and 1500 AM. You can also listen on the Boerne Star and Boerne Radio websites. I'm the host of today's show. I'm Kerry Barbosa, sports editor of the Boerne Star. Right now, soccer is getting ready to start district, and basketball is in the middle of district at the high school level. So we're going to talk to a girls basketball coach and a girls soccer coach. Our soccer coach is Alyse Zingelmann, the head coach at Boerne Champion. After the break, Jason Sanders, head coach of the Champion Girls, is going to join us. But first up is Coach Zingelmann, girls soccer coach at Boerne Champion. Coach, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I know you played at Hardin Simmons, isn't that correct? And were you at Brandeis before that?
Yes, that's correct.
So you're a local
Yes.
kid, basically.
Yes.
And you were goalkeeper. What was your career like at Hardin Simmons? What was some of the highlights there for you?
Hardin Simmons is great. I loved it. I played the first 2 years. Unfortunately, I medically retired due to injury. So I didn't get a whole lot of playing time in there, but I learned a lot, especially from my coach and from my teammates. So I appreciated my time that I got for sure.
Well, and you start district this week, and I think one of the things that stands out to me is how short your non-district season is. I know once you start district, you can still do tournaments, non-district tournaments, but basically you played in the tournament, you had one non-district game, and then now you guys are starting district. So soccer seems a lot different than a lot of other sports where you get a little bit of time before, maybe a month or two before you even start district, but you guys start right away, right? So how do you get a team ready in that short amount of time? And I guess the good news is everybody's in the same boat though, right?
Yes, definitely. It's been different this year since our district got a little bit bigger, and that kind of expanded it and shortened some of our preseason time. We really worked on finding quality scrimmages this year as a best way to prep us before going into that preseason games and then getting us ready for district as well. So the scrimmages, I would say, are huge, and making sure you get competitive matches in that. And then our preseason games as well have been awesome this year, really challenging us to take on some big opponents and see how that goes, and challenge us to get ready for district as well.
That is Alyse Zingelmann joining us here. She's the head girls soccer coach at Boerne Champion. So what other sports do you coach, or is soccer it?
Soccer is my main sport, but I'm also the cross-country coach at South Middle School.
Oh, okay. And what other sports have you coached in your career besides soccer and cross country?
That's it. Those are my only two.
Really? Okay.
Yes, I'm very blessed to get two awesome sports that I love.
Yeah, and cross country, I wouldn't call it an easy schedule because you have a lot of early mornings, but you run an hour and you're done, right?
They love to run down there at South. They're doing great. We've got a great group of kids down there that I really enjoy getting to see, primarily in the beginning of the year. So that really works well with soccer as well, because once that ends, then I get to fully focus on the soccer girls and getting them prepped. And then after that, middle school soccer season starts up, and I get to go cheer on those kids as well.
Well, sometimes cross country kids, they play other sports. A lot of them, like Elizabeth Leachman, she swims, and they do a few other things, but I found that those runners that play basketball or they play soccer, they're really in good shape, aren't they?
Definitely. Those cross-country kids can do it all.
Yeah. And soccer's a different kind of running versus, a 3-mile race or whatever. But I mean, still just to have that foundation underneath you. But, you played Dripping Springs the other days. You guys won it off a rebound on a penalty kick. And we were talking about it afterwards, but you guys are kind of already banged up. I mean, you've only played 4 matches and you're really dealing with injuries. We won't talk about any specific girl, but I mean, what's the approach going forward when you start having injuries so early in the season?
Yeah, we were very bummed about some of our injury losses. Definitely managing the girls' bodies is a high priority for us, and just making sure that they're taking that time to rest and recover. So that's something that we've been prioritizing, and making sure that in practice time, we're rolling out, we're stretching, we're doing some injury prevention in the weight room to try to help that out a little bit. But going forward from here, we're just talking to the girls, communicating with them, making sure they're feeling good, and managing the time where we can.
Yeah, I know one girl, it looks like she's done for the year, unfortunately. But the best thing about injuries, if there is an upside, is that it's an opportunity for other kids to step up, right? So, I mean, this is their opportunity to kind of show you, right?
And I would say they really already have stepped up. I mean, we had an injury in that drip game at the very beginning. They could have easily let to get to them, but the girls are very, very good at persevering through those difficulties, and they've stepped up already. And I'm really excited to see how they continue that throughout district.
Well, My bone to pick with UIL as far as soccer is they schedule it in the two coldest months in Texas, January and February. So, yeah, it's cold. What's the coldest match you've ever played in or coached in?
Gosh. Well, I know my girls would say last year at Georgetown was so cold. I would probably agree. I think I had on about 5 layers that game. I'm not exactly sure of what the temperature was, but it's sometimes when that wind gets going and
Yeah.
then you've got like some cold rain going on because we'll play through rain and
Yeah.
stuff all the time. And that, man, Texas cold is something else sometimes.
Yeah. The only thing that stops you or soccer is lightning. Because,
Yes.
y'all do play in the rain. I remember one game at Boerne High. This was, 15 years ago. It was literally snowing. It was in the 30s. It wasn't sticking. It was, it wasn't below freezing, but it was 34, 35, and it was snowing. And those kids were out there hitting the ball. That ball must have felt like a rock or something on their heads. But so I guess playing below freezing, that's something that's just part of it, right? You just layer up. And then once you start playing, I guess you kind of warm up a little, don't you?
You do. You warm up quite a bit.
Yeah.
You got to hope that you warm up as much as you can. Lots of layers.
That is Alyse Zingelmann, head coach of the Champion girls soccer team. Your second year with the Chargers, I believe. Last year you got them to the playoffs, and I was at that game. It was at Dripping Springs, I believe. And then kind of a new look district. You added some more teams, I think, but you dropped some teams. Some of the teams are the same. I know you lost Canyon, but you picked up New Braunfels. So this district just as tough, or is it about the same as last year?
I'd say it's just as tough. There's definitely some quality teams that they've added in, but we're just excited to face the new opponents. I know my girls could not be more pumped up to face these new challenges, but it is different this year, and I think that's for the best. I think it's going to make us better in the long run.
Who are the teams to beat in the district?
I would probably say Smith Valley, Piper, and then they were the top 2 in district last year. We ended up placing 4th last year, and it was very, very close.
Yeah, it was.
All 4 of us were very close. Canyon was up there too, but with Canyon out, I would say Smith Valley, Piper, Elmo Heights, and New Braunfels will be great as well. I'm sure Boerne's going to come compete. So we've got a really stacked district, and we're pumped up to get to compete against all of them.
Well, Jason Sanders just walked into the booth, and we're going to talk with him in a little bit. He's the head girls basketball coach at the Boerne Champion. One thing I'm going to ask him, I'm going to ask you now, Coach Zingelmann. Every coach has superstitions before a game, before a match. Do you have any? Like, do you put on your socks a certain way? Do you have to eat a certain food? Anything like that?
I always put on my right shoe first.
See, every coach has one. I don't know what it is. Jason's laughing because I know he has one. I have a couple, but so that's it. You just put your right shoe on first.
Put my right shoe on first, say a prayer, get my girls ready to go.
All right. Well, that's pretty mild compared to some of the other ones, but I know you coached. So where were you at before you came to Champion?
Before I was at Champion, I was at Stevens High School. I was an assistant coach there. So Champion's my first head coaching job.
Okay.
I've loved it so far. And then before Stevens, I was at McCollum High School, and I was assistant there as well.
And what was that like coaching on the South Side? A little bit different world, isn't it?
It is a different world.
Yeah, it is.
Pros and cons to both, definitely.
Yeah.
I learned a lot, and I grew a lot. So I really appreciated my time there. But Champion's the best place to be. So I'm pumped up about being here.
And as far as your playing days, you played at Brandeis. What year did you graduate from Brandeis?
2017.
Okay. And how did y'all do in high school? Like, what was your best year in high school?
We did really well in district, and we made it to the second round of playoffs all 4 years.
Okay. And so what are the goals for this year? Because I know first year you get them into the playoffs last year and had a tough matchup opening round, but what are the goals for going forward?
Yeah, definitely. We want to get into playoffs again and push ourselves a little bit further this time. I think that last year being my first year as a head coach, I learned a lot, and I'm excited to kind of grow on that. Great group of girls who are ready to do that and willing to work. And so we're just excited to get into district and really start competing and to push even further this year, hopefully.
And as far as one thing, I know in the past, Boerne High has played Champion in soccer, at least before there was a 4A. Boerne moved up because they were 4A and they had to play up at 5A. You get to play the Greyhounds. What do you think that's going to be like?
We're very excited.
Yeah.
We are very excited. There's not a day that the girls aren't talking about
Really?
it. It's a crosstown rivalry. They can't wait. We want to compete. We want to see them play. We want to see us play against them. The girls are very, very excited about that game, and I am as well.
And as far as your team, it seems you're kind of a young team. I mean, how would you describe it?
I would describe us as young. I would agree with that, definitely. Yeah. We graduated 8 seniors, and 7 of them had quality time starting. So I would definitely say we're young, but in that youth, we've got a lot of determination and a lot of will, and we do still have those leadership aspects where we've got some quality seniors who are excited and are leading that younger group and just kind of building on what we did last year.
What is the strength of the team? What stands out to you? I know it's early and you're starting district this week already, but what's the strength of the team?
I think really what I like how they're doing right now is just kind of working on building up our mentality and building up how to work with each other. I think that that's super important, especially for girls sports, to make sure that we're keeping it positive and working for each other and working for more than just ourselves. Because at the end of the day, it's a team sport. And if you're doing it for yourself, it's not going to work out as well. They really do work for each other. And I think that's where they need to just keep their mentality centered. And that can be one of our biggest strengths.
And what do you want to get better at? What's the main area you want to see improvement on going forward?
Yeah, just continue to grow. I mean, we're young. So making sure that we're cleaning up some of those little mistakes. And the girls are definitely capable of that. They're so eager to learn. And I think that as we grow and as we get more time on the field, that will definitely improve.
So you said you were an assistant for many years, this second year as head coach. What's the biggest adjustment from being an assistant head coach to being the guy, the head good person there?
I think really it's just getting to be more connected with the girls, and you kind of are making the day-to-day decisions instead of, it's more of a passive role, at least from my experience as an assistant. You're just like getting told what to do, which is important because that's how you learn. But as the head coach, you're definitely making more decisions and a lot more management aspects, I think. But I've enjoyed it so far.
Yeah, and you get to deal with the parents. Which, Boerne parents, they're pretty involved, aren't they?
No, I appreciate it, though, because I came from a place where there was no involvement, and there's definitely a pro in that. Because they're there to help, and they love their girls, and they just really want us to do as best and help to do as best as we can. So they're involved, but I think that's a good thing.
Well, when I started at Boerne, one thing somebody told me, they said, the good thing about Boerne is the parents are involved. The bad thing about Boerne, the parents are involved. So I guess it's a two-edged sword. But anyway, good luck to you this year, Coach Zingelmann. Thank you for being on the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
That is Alyse Zingelmann joining us here on the Boerne Brew. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk with champion girls basketball coach Jason Sanders. We'll be back right after this.
You're listening to the Boerne Brew, presented by the Boerne Star. And the weekend edition of the Boerne Star is now in your mailbox, inbox, or at your corner store. It's the Boerne Star. Now back to the Boerne Brew with Kerry Barbosa.
Welcome back to the Boerne Brew here on Boerne Radio, 103.9 FM and 1500 AM. I'm the host of today's show. I'm Kerry Barbosa, sports editor of the Boerne Star newspaper, and we want to thank Alyse Zingelmann for joining us in the first half of this show. And we're going to continue talking girls sports at Boerne Champion. Joining us now is Jason Sanders, head coach of the Lady Chargers basketball team. Coach Sanders, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks for everything you do for covering the sports in this area.
Well, now there's a Jason Sanders who kicks in the NFL. You're not him, are you?
I wish. That would be nice.
Yeah, he kicks for the
probably
Dolphins.
Have a little more salary.
Yeah, I was going to say probably a lot more salary. Those guys. But those kickers they're kind of different, but he's the kicker for the Dolphins. And I asked Coach Zingelmann, so I'm going to ask you right up front, what are your coaching superstitions, if you have any? You kind of smiled, so I'm pretty sure you have a few.
I did. My biggest one is actually that I will wear the same pair of pants to coach every game in as long as we're winning. And if we lose a game, then I'll change that. But as long as we're winning, I'll wear the same pair. Just wash it in between, obviously.
Oh, I was going to say, I hope you wash them at least, because you might have a winning streak. What if you go like a 1 month winning streak? Then, wow. Keeps the officials away, I guess.
Yes.
Is that the only one, or is that the main one?
That's the main one.
Okay. So sounds like you have a few others.
I used to actually eat.
Yeah.
I would have to eat nachos or a hot dog or something like that on the bench during warm-up before every game, but I no longer do that one.
Yeah. Of all the coaches I talk to, eating, that comes up a lot. I know one coach used to go to the convenience store and buy a couple bag of peanuts, and that was her pregame kind of a deal. But anyway, so third year, I believe, as the Chargers head coach, but you've been coaching like 20 years. So what were some of your stops before you came to Boerne? What's your coaching journey been like?
So I'm originally from Oklahoma, and my coaching journey started with my family. I've got my dad and all of his brothers and everything are head coaches. They've all won state championships in Oklahoma. And so that's kind of what led me into it. And I came to Fredericksburg when I graduated college, and I was 1 year as an assistant there under Don Brookshire. After that 1 year, I went to Johnson City and I was a head coach. I spent 2 years there, and then 2 years in Caldwell. Then I moved to Southeast Texas. I was 8 years at Silsbee as the head girls coach, and then 6 years at Lumberton as the head girls coach.
So when you saw the Boerne opening at Champion, Marcia Hammond, who I just saw her over the weekend at the All-Star football game in Alamo Dome, so I talked to her a little bit, but she stepped down, became an AD at New Braunfels, or Comal rather. But when you saw the opening, what was it that attracted you to it? Why did you think, I think I'd like to go to Boerne? What was the attraction for you?
I know that there's, the expectations that Boerne has, not just at Champion High School, but at Boerne High School. Just the expectations in this community are something that drew me here. The success that we have across the board in everything that we do. And that was one of the big things that my wife and I, we wanted to be able to come to the Hill Country ultimately. And that's where we wanted to be able to come and retire someday. So,
well, and I know you have two young boys, about 10-ish, right?
8 and 10.
Yeah, because I see them at all the games, and they're always in the hallway running around wrestling and stuff like that in the hallway.
Yes.
It's kind of neat. But anyway, I read on your website that you completed your principal certification. So does that mean that you'll leave coaching, teaching one day and go to the dark side and work in administration?
So last year, for the last month of the year in May, I was a substitute assistant principal at the high school.
Okay.
So I got out of the classroom and did that for the last month. My wife's an assistant principal at Boerne High.
Right.
And I do not really want to go over to that dark side per se. I haven't ruled it out, but the route that I want to go in is more the athletic administration route.
Oh, okay. Like athletic director. Yeah, it's appropriate to make dark side references because the room we're in is full of Star Wars memorabilia. So for those out there in Radio Land that can't see. But yeah, your wife's an assistant at Boerne High, and you teach what, math, right?
Yes, I teach honors geometry.
And so that is Jason Sanders, head coach of the Champion girls basketball team. Speaking of Boerne High, you guys played them for the first time. We're talking to Coach Zingelmann about they have their matchups coming with Boerne High. You had yours in December. It was at Boerne High, but second round you get them at Champion. Two things stand out. One is that Boerne won, but I mean, that doesn't matter the score, but the thing that stood out was they hit 17 threes. I mean, you just picked a bad day to play them, right? I think that's a district record. 17 3-pointers is crazy.
It was a lot. And, I think we kind of let the moment get to us of that game, and they played very, very well in that game. And, they were able to force a lot of turnovers from us and knock down those threes. And we're looking forward to that opportunity to be able to play them again next Tuesday.
Yeah, coming up second round. And you'll get them at home this time. So
yes,
hopefully that'll help you guys in that regard. But another thing you kind of touched on that stood out to me was just the crowd. I mean, it was pretty much capacity in that gym at Boerne High. And I think the gym holds 900, I believe. And I remember back in the day when Boerne, before Champion, used to play Alamo Heights, that would sell out for certain Kerrville, Alamo Heights games. And that was probably the largest crowd a lot of your girls played in, wasn't it? I would think up to this point.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest crowd that we've played in front of so far. So we're hoping that, we can give you more there with Champion having a few more seats to be able to sell.
Yeah, and it seemed like that kind of got to the girls maybe a little bit, right?
I do. Like I said, I think that, we just, we let it kind of just the emotions and, how big that game was. We kind of let it affect us more than we should have.
So what's the advice? What have you told them about the second round matchup that you're going to have at home?
We haven't talked about the second round matchup yet. We're just trying to focus one game at a time, still trying to find a way to overcome some adversity and be able to find a way to get in the playoffs still.
That is Jason Sanders, head coach of the Champion girls basketball team. And we're talking to Coach Zingelmann about it. You're in a tough district. Wagner, Piper, Kerrville Heights, Boerne. I mean, it really is for you guys. It's a tough top to bottom. There's really no easy nights off.
It is. There's not an off night. I mean, we've talked about that multiple times, how hard it is in this district that you don't get a chance to take a night off. Used to, we had one or two of those games that we could do that with, and now we can't even do that. I mean, Veterans Memorial hadn't won a district ball game in 2.5 years, and they've won 2 in the last week and a half. We got a win against them last week. Otherwise, they'd have won 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And so they're turning things around over there, and there's no off night. Smithson Valley beat us Friday night by 2, and they only had 1 district win coming into that. And so many of these games that we play, they're 5, 6, 7-point games, 10-point games. I mean, it's one way or another, just one call here, one call there, one made shot here or there that's making a big difference for us.
Well, I'll bring up a sore subject. The shot that the girl made at the buzzer at Smithson Valley shouldn't have counted, right? It was at zeros on the clock.
When we went back and looked at the film and even live, we thought that it was after the shot, and one of the officials had made the comment that he said, no good, we're going to overtime. And then the three officials came together, and the official furthest away pointed at the table and counted the basket, and they ran off the court. And so that's it. There's no replay for us.
Did they explain anything to you about it, or no? Or they just headed off?
They just headed off.
So I think that one guy would have said, well, I want to go watch the Texas-Ohio State game, so let's go ahead and end it right now.
But I mean, it was tough losing a game like that because we just hit it. We were down 3, and we hit a 3 on an inbounds play to tie the game up with 5 seconds to go, 4.5 seconds to go. So it was a lot of emotion for us. We fouled to get back into the game, and we battled. And the girls, they played really hard. I'm super proud of them. But, like I told the girls, it wasn't that one play that cost us. It was a missed shot here, missed shot there, missed free throws, not being in the right spot on the press and things like that. Those are the things that cost us that ball game, not that one call.
Well, you're into the second round. Mathematically, playoff spot's going to be tough, I know, because you don't have a lot of wins, but what's the main message to the team as you go down the second round of district?
I mean, the main message that we're sending the kids right now is that we just got to keep battling. We've got to work every single day and get better. And, we're not mathematically eliminated. We still have a chance. Alamo Heights is in that 5th spot right now, and they're 1 game up on us. Boerne is 3 games ahead of us. So that's where our focus is, just trying to get better and do the things that we can focus on to get better as a group right now. And, we're not talking a whole lot about playoffs per se. We're just talking about 1 game at a time.
Next game up. So as far as getting back to your coaching career, what other sports have you coached besides, because I know you coach softball for the Chargers, you're assistant softball. So what have you coached besides girls basketball and softball?
Yeah. So when I was at Fredericksburg, I was assistant track coach in the spring, and that was my second sport. And at Johnson City, I kind of did everything. I was head cross country and middle school volleyball in the fall, and then head girls basketball. And then in the spring, I was assistant baseball 1 year, assistant softball 1 year, and I did assistant track at the same time both years. So, and our track meets were on Saturday, so I'd get home from a district baseball or softball game Friday night, and Saturday morning have to drive a bus to a track meet.
Wow.
And then, so I've coached a little bit of everything. I was a head cross country coach for 17 years.
So how much longer do you see yourself coaching? Because I know there's a part of you that wants to become an administrator, like an athletic director. How long do you see yourself, with the whistle and still part of being coached and leave, but before you want to leave that and just focus on administrative stuff?
I haven't set a timeline on it. Coach Zingelmann made a great comment earlier about that being at Boerne is where she wanted to be. And that's how my wife and we both feel right now. We've looked at, in other places, different jobs and things like that. And I've been here. This is year 3, and in 3 years, I haven't even looked at a job board to see what's out there, because we just love Boerne so much. So I don't have any timeline on that.
Well, I mentioned you coach softball. The tough thing, it seems like you're starting softball while you're still in basketball, right? So I know after a practice, you may have to go out to softball practice or after a game or something like that. So what's that like? Because it's kind of, there's some overlap there, right?
There is some overlap. And, Coach Cameron and I, we've already talked, and for the most part, we'll be finishing up basketball. But whenever I'm able to, I'm going to get out there and spend as much time as I can, because it's important for those girls to see me too. So if I have basketball practice in the morning, I'll go to softball practice after school, or vice versa.
So last question for you. As far as basketball, you can coach boys or girls. Do you prefer one over the other?
So I've never coached boys basketball. And as I stated, I come from a family of coaches. Everyone coached girls basketball in my family.
Okay.
So that was just kind of the way that choice fell for me.
Keeping the family lineage, right?
Yes. One of these days, I'm hoping to sit at the big boy table Thanksgiving and Christmas. All of them have won state championships, so hopefully I can get there.
All right. Well, good luck to you in that pursuit. That is Jason Sanders joining us here on the show. Thank you, Coach, for being part of the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we'll see you soon on the basketball court. We'll see you, Coach Zingelmann. She's sitting behind the mic there, and we'll see her coming up. Soccer district matches coming up. So thank you guys for joining us here on the Boerne Brew. We'll talk to you next time.